Tina Peters has to be getting more nervous about prison as the well-known election denier's co-defendant turns on her. Still question our elections like Clerk Peters does? Well, Weld County's Republican clerk says, just take a look. Here are 55,000 ballots. Hope you have some free time. A record fine for a government official who illegally blocked a Coloradan on social media. Insurance rules are being reworked to help marshal fire victims. And Fort Collins would like to discuss what's being flushed down the toilet there. Round and round we go on Next. The walls are closing in on Colorado's best-known election denier. Tina Peters' deputy clerk, her right-hand woman, has now turned on Peters, taking a plea deal in their election tampering case. And she's promising to testify against her boss, the Republican clerk in Mesa County, the failed candidate for Secretary of State. Deputy Clerk Belinda Nicely today pleaded guilty to trespassing, violation of duty, and official misconduct. She was looking at charges for burglary and cyber crimes for her role in the security breach and tampering with Mesa County's voting equipment. Nicely told the judge that she broke the law at the direction of her boss, Mesa County Clerk Tina Peters. If she testifies against Peters, Nicely gets 2 years unsupervised probation, no jail time, which is something the judge struggled with. Judge Matthew Barrett said today, quote, "I had hesitation and still have some about this plea agreement. Cooperation or not, these crimes are worthy of incarceration. My hands are tied." That does not bode well for Clerk Peters' chance to stay out of the pokey if she gets convicted. Peters, of course, lost the Republican nomination for Secretary of State. She claimed that race had fraud as well. Also, no evidence there. As some Colorado Republicans have moved to distance themselves from Peters, she remains quite the star in national election conspiracy theory circles. The election rigging fantasies spread by Peters and flirted with by prominent Colorado Republicans clear up to gubernatorial candidate Heidi Ganahl, those fantasies have consequences. For Colorado's election workers, the conspiracies are a hassle at best, and they are a danger at worst. So you see these clerks' offices responding with unprecedented transparency. Weld County's Republican clerk just uploaded 55,000 images for every ballot turned in during the June primary. You can recount them yourself. Politics guy Marshall Zellinger explains why that'd be a waste of your time.
This is an actual Weld County voter ballot filled out and turned in for the June 28th primary. This is another actual ballot. And this. And this. It goes on and on and on. 55,378 Weld County ballots posted online on purpose.
It's really just to give more transparency to continue to try and build our trust back in our elections.
Weld County is part of a pilot program posting scanned ballots online. Ballots, once separated from the envelope, are impossible to track back to the specific voter who sent them in.
We're to the point where it's not just, trust me, but it's trust and verify.
Republican Weld County Clerk Carly Koppas is realistic about who this will help and who may never be convinced.
I don't know if it necessarily would do away with the likes of Ms. Peters and some of her very contagious supporters. However, I'm going after the people that are, I would call the opportunity group, the ones that have the questions and concerns, but haven't really gone to the extreme as she has.
Not every ballot is simple to decipher, like this one, where the voter unnecessarily crossed out the candidates they were not voting for, but in the process, put a line through the circle telling the ballot scanner there's a mark there. This is an example of a ballot that would be reviewed by 2 election workers of opposing parties.
It said, this is an overvote. So again, humans, tell us what to do because we're saying that they marked a vote for all 4 of them.
In this example, you can see the voter picked 2 candidates for Republican Secretary of State, but the 2 human adjudicators did not count a vote for either candidate. In this example, the voter crossed out their vote for Ron Hanks, but the computer still sees 2 marks. So 2 election workers of opposing parties reviewed it and rightfully told the computer to count the vote for Joe O'Day.
You have the opportunity to sit at a Friday night with whatever your preferred beverage is and look at my ballots in my election.
No, I may not be fun at parties, but I'm not doing that on a Friday night. This is a pilot program, so you're not going to find this in every county. Broomfield, for example, just posted some today, but it's not as simple to navigate as that program that Weld County has. El Paso County will post its ballot images next week. Mesa County has this feature too. It's $3,300 for Mesa County expense every election. El Paso told me it's $5,000, and in Weld County, Carly Coppa said it's $3,000 to $4,000.
It's not a huge expense, but I mean, at the end of the day, like, is this really going to convince anybody? Because like, the way conspiracy theories work is that as soon as one of them completely falls apart, you just shift to the next one, shift to the next one, shift to the next one.
I mean, you look at it, county commissioners in most cases would have to approve $3,000, $5,000, maybe moving up per election. Is it worth that expense to, as Coppa said, I'm going for the people that are willing to have the discussion, not the ones that will never believe it regardless of what I prove. I guess it's up to the voters if they want to keep spending that. If you want to vote those people in as county commissioners, if you want to vote those people,
not a tremendous expense. Well, we'll see how many people look at it over a glass of something on Friday night. Thank you, Marshall. Another state legislator is now accused of voting in a district where he doesn't live. After Democratic Senator Pete Lee of Colorado Springs just got indicted for that, a left-leaning group has accused Republican State Senator Dennis Heisey of Colorado Springs of doing that same thing. The group Colorado Ethics Institute has asked the DA in the Springs to investigate whether Heisey lives and votes where he said he did in the June primary. The group was founded by the former chair of the Colorado Democratic Party, so you know where they're coming from. The CEI says that Heisey actually lives in Fountain, which is in Senate District 12. But they say that he voted in the primary for an address up in Colorado Springs, which is District 11. The group wants the DA to find out if what Heisey did was illegal. All this gets a bit more complicated because of redistricting, and Heisey says that the complaint is inaccurate. So earlier this month, grand jury indicted Democratic State Senator Pete Lee. He's accused of giving false information about where he lived for the purpose of voting. That is no small thing. That is a felony in Colorado. Tonight, the state's second largest school district is having a conversation about which schools may close as Jeffco School struggles with lower enrollment. Jeffco Public Schools says it will close 16 elementary schools under its new plan, 15 next summer and one more summer of 2024. This is just a proposal at this point. Jeffco says statewide, you had 30,000 kids who did not come back to K-12 schools following the pandemic. Jeffco saw the biggest drop of any one district, 5,000 of their students just gone. Jeffco is set up to serve 96,000 students. Currently, there are only 69,000 students in its schools. The district says it's closing schools that have fewer than 220 students or if the school space is 55% or more unused. Plan would affect more than 2,400 students. The city of Woodland Park owes a guy on Facebook tens of thousands of dollars because they deleted his comments and they blocked him. When you or I do that to a troll, it's a good mental health decision. When the government does it, it's a First Amendment problem. And it could be the largest settlement of its kind in the country. Here's Katie Eastman.
Most people know the feeling of getting blocked or deleting a comment on social media. But attorney Andy McNulty says there's a difference when the government is the one doing the blocking and deleting.
The First Amendment protects those spaces in a way that it doesn't protect mine or your Facebook page.
Recently, a judge agreed.
I called him punk.
Back in 2020, Delbert Scagio said those things in a comment on the Woodland Park Police Facebook page, without the bleeps. He criticized one of the police's marijuana raids.
And I told him that he was violating my rights, and if he removed my comment one more time, I would sue him. And he removed my comment, and I ended up suing him, and that's pretty much the gist of it.
Pretty much. 2 years later, and a judge says the city has to pay Delbert $65,000 and change their social media policy.
Even if the police chief doesn't like being called a punk, he can't block you.
The settlement says Woodland Park can't remove posts because they deem them vulgar and profane, nor can they remove posts they deem inappropriate.
A lot of people don't know this, but is protected by the Constitution. So, vulgarity, profanity, these things are protected by the Constitution, and the First Amendment protects them just as much as any other word that you would say. So Woodland Park learned that lesson the hard way.
And McNulty said the very first comment Scagio made about this police raid didn't have any curse words in it. It was just critical of police, and that was deleted. That's the point, he says, of this settlement, to make sure governments can't control messages and make it seem like everyone is supportive of their actions, when, Kyle, that might not be the case.
We hear from a good number of people, Katie, who come to us with cases like this where they say such and such government official or agency deleted my comment. It's not an absolute thing, though.
It's not. They can still delete comments like hate speech, defamation, and some other things. It doesn't fully mean none of your comments are ever going to be deleted again.
Yeah, but bleepity bleep 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 there from that guy did not fall under that. All right, Katie Eastman, thank you. New insurance rules to help the 1,000 families who lost their homes in the Marshall Fire. And Fort Collins has a plan for reuse toilet water that is actually way less gross than I just made it sound. A principal hopes that what started as a dare will inspire her students.
My biggest goal is that they understand whatever you believe, you can achieve it.
We're going to school next. May you never have to confront the details of your home insurance policy, like what is happening currently to the more than 1,000 families who lost their homes during the Marshall Fire. The state's Division of Insurance is adding some new emergency rules meant to make sure that insurance companies pay out on a little-known piece of coverage. This has to do with what's called law and ordinance coverage. If your home is destroyed, that coverage is meant to help pay for upgrades required under new building codes. Louisville and Superior have made some of those new building codes optional for fire survivors. The state's new insurance rule says that if homeowners decide later on in the rebuilding process that they are going to follow that newer, more expensive building code, then their insurance companies still have to offer that extra coverage.
We really wanted to put this regulation in effect, put it in place, and to make sure that people understood that they had the coverage. And if they have funds left over and they want to build to that 2021 code, that they're going to be able to.
Most fire survivors from Marshall Fire, they're real early in the process of planning their rebuild. In all of Louisville, Superior, and Boulder County, there have only been 63 rebuilding permits issued for fire survivors in the 8 months since the fire.
How about these clouds this afternoon? Felt so nice to see those temperatures drop off quite a bit, too. We have been tracking a few scattered showers really up into the high country, the foothills, and now approaching the Denver metro area. Everything is really light, but hey, this is beneficial rain. Free water for the front yard, the backyard. We'll take it. Absolutely. Coming across the Boulder area, Broomfield, around downtown Denver, just a little bit of light rain, and even through Aurora, too. Those temperatures, they peaked at 90 degrees earlier this afternoon. This evening, they're dropping off into the 70s. A lovely night for you. Some 50s right now in Blackhawk, up to Nederland, and 60s in Granby. You'll notice the storm system pushes off to our north and to our east. However, tomorrow we still will be watching some of that monsoon moisture coming in from the southwest. You'll notice this ridge of high pressure further off to the west. That will build back into Colorado as we look ahead toward the weekend. So we anticipate a little bit of a warm up coming our way Saturday and Sunday, and not quite as many storms coming our direction. These thunderstorms around the metro area should wind down within the next couple of hours, I'd say by about 9 o'clock or so. Still going strong overnight up into the mountains, and it will be a cloudy start to your Friday. By the afternoon, we'll see most of the action up in the high country, but a few isolated storms certainly possible here in the Denver area. Temperatures tomorrow slightly cooler, back to the mid to upper 80s here in town with some 60s up into the high country. There's that weekend. Right now, I just have couple of isolated storms on deck for us on Sunday and again next Tuesday.
Thank you, Danielle. Fort Collins is looking to conserve water and reuse it. They want to turn the water that gets used in showers, baths, laundries, and bathroom sinks, turn it into toilet water. City Council has given initial approval to what's called a gray water ordinance. It would allow homeowners, businesses, and apartments to install gray water systems, like just for their property. The water collected from the first use would be repurposed to flush toilets or could be used for below-ground irrigation. Local regulations in Fort Collins right now limit gray water use to just toilets. This is not going to solve water shortages. The city thinks it might help.
If the city adopts a gray water ordinance, that is a step towards developing more sustainable water use options in the future, which we see as being necessary to meet demands in the future with as a result of climate change impacts.
So far, gray water use is pretty limited statewide. Fort Collins Utilities estimates that there are like 30 homes that have one of these systems in all of Colorado. Installing it is not exactly cheap. It's about $5,000 a home. The utility company says put one of these in, you can expect to save a couple $100s per year. You will save about 10 to 20,000 gallons of water per home. They're not expecting a rush of interest right now because it's new and expensive. They're hoping more people will get on board as the costs drop.
And that is the point where I realized I can sing. I can sing with the best of them.
So she went up against the best in the world. We'll meet a principal from Denver with a no longer hidden talent next. How many kids have ended up in the principal's office because of some dare gone wrong? A dare gone right for a principal herself led the woman in charge of Emily Griffith High School to try karaoke. Next thing Cia Chandler knew, she was on stage at an international competition.
And I'm always telling my students, if you put your mind to it, you can do anything you want. My biggest goal is that they understand whatever you believe, you can achieve it. My name is Cia Chandler. I am the principal of Emily Griffith High School, and I just won second place in the world for Karaoke 2022. You are competing against 17 other countries where they are the karaoke queen and kings of their country. And that is the point where I realized I can sing. I can sing with the best of them. I put my best foot forward and I won. I was so happy when I heard my name in number 2. I couldn't have asked for anything better. I am a living witness. You can do anything you want. I went to a karaoke competition that I knew nothing about and placed second in the world. So if you don't hear anything else from me, know that whatever you put your mind to, you can do it. And you might as well enjoy the ride.
That is just cool. That's fantastic. Principal Chandler told our photojournalist Corky Scholl that the World Championship, one-time thing. She's not going back for the crown. She doesn't plan to compete in karaoke ever again. We have a sign for you suggesting that we all avoid death if possible, and an insult that doubled as encouragement in your feedback next. It's a sign, and it's about as blunt as they come. Mark Wilkins saw the sign on a baler. You know, one of those big machines that crushes boxes and trash? Hopefully that's all it ever crushes, because the sign says, warning, not only will this kill you, it will hurt the whole time you're dying. Yikes, that is super graphic, but it might keep you from reaching in to push down the boxes if you're ever tempted. Send us the signs that make you look twice. Email next@9news.com. Tina writes in tonight about Marshall Zellinger's comments about not being much entertainment to have a drink with and count ballots. Tina says, I don't care what he says, I would love to party with Marshall Zellinger. I will say, Marshall Zellinger is deceptively fun, which I hope didn't come across like an insult. Bob Samuelson says, you are still and will always be a loser, but keep working on it. Thank you, Bob. I did not expect the encouragement at the end. I will keep working on it. See you next time.